Captain Kang Day-Won stood on the bridge of his ship, the Defiance. He looked at the stars through the large window. Space was quiet and peaceful, just like it had been for the past 50 years. Earth had no enemies. Earth had no wars. They traded with aliens, shared knowledge, and stayed out of other people's problems. Day-Won was 42 years old. He had worked on merchant ships before joining Earth's Defense Force. The Defense Force was small. They protected mining stations and helped lost ships. They never fought anyone. Earth did not want to fight. Earth wanted peace. Commander Park Hye-jin walked up to him. She was his second in command. She was smart and quick. She could solve problems that others could not see. Today she looked worried. "Captain, we are getting a distress signal," she said. "It is coming from a Tellurian ship. They are asking for help." Day-Won turned to look at her. The Tellurians were friendly aliens. They were traders like humans used to be. Earth had good relations with them. "What kind of help?" Day-Won asked. "They are being chased," Hye-jin said. "By Vicorian warships." Day-Won felt his stomach tighten. The Vicorians were not like other aliens. They were an empire. They took what they wanted. They believed in power and strength. But they had never come to Earth's space before. Earth was neutral. Everyone respected that. "Put the signal on screen," Day-Won ordered. A Tellurian face appeared. The alien looked scared. Its large eyes were wide with fear. "Please help us," the Tellurian captain said. "We are entering your space. We need protection. The Vicorians will not stop chasing us." Before Day-Won could answer, Dr. Lee Bo-ra spoke from her station. She was young, only 28, but she was the smartest person on the ship. She understood science and technology better than anyone. "Captain, I am detecting 5 large ships," Bo-ra said. "They are military vessels. Very powerful. Much more powerful than us." Day-Won watched his screen. He saw the Tellurian merchant ship. It was small and slow. Behind it, 5 massive Vicorian warships were closing in. They looked like hunters chasing prey. "Open a channel to the Vicorian ships," Day-Won said. His voice was calm, but his heart was beating fast. A Vicorian face appeared on the screen. The alien was tall with dark skin and sharp features. Its eyes were cold. "This is Captain Kang Day-Won of Earth Defense Force," Day-Won said. "You have entered our space. Earth is neutral territory. Please respect our borders and leave." The Vicorian officer smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Your neutrality means nothing to us," the Vicorian said. "We are hunting criminals. Stand aside or be destroyed." The screen went black. The Vicorians had cut the communication. Day-Won felt anger rise in his chest. No one had ever spoken to Earth like that before. "Captain, they are firing on the Tellurian ship," Hye-jin said. Day-Won watched in horror. The Vicorian warships opened fire. Bright beams of energy hit the small Tellurian vessel. The merchant ship exploded. Pieces of metal and fire scattered through space. In seconds, it was gone. Everyone on that ship was dead. The bridge was silent. The crew of the Defiance stared at their screens. They had just watched murder happen in their own space. Earth's space. Space that was supposed to be safe. "Captain, what do we do?" Hye-jin asked quietly. Day-Won wanted to fight. He wanted to make the Vicorians pay for what they had done. But he had orders. Earth was neutral. They did not fight. They did not start wars. "Send a formal protest to Earth Command," Day-Won said. "Tell them what happened. Ask for orders." The Vicorian warships did not leave. They stayed in Earth space. They scanned human stations and ships. They were studying Earth's defenses. They were looking for weaknesses. It was clear they did not respect Earth at all. News spread fast. Within hours, everyone on Earth knew what had happened. The Vicorians had violated their space. They had killed innocent people. They had insulted Earth's neutrality. In New Seoul, Ambassador Na Young-soo called an emergency meeting. She contacted the Galactic Council. The council was supposed to keep peace in the galaxy. They made rules. They stopped wars. "The Vicorian Empire has broken galactic law," Young-soo said to the council. "They violated neutral space. They committed murder. You must act." The council members looked uncomfortable. They talked quietly among themselves. Finally, one of them spoke. "We are sorry for what happened," the council member said, "but we cannot force the Vicorian Empire to do anything. They are too powerful. We suggest Earth negotiate directly with them." Young-soo felt her heart sink. The council was afraid. They would not help Earth. Earth was alone. Back on the Defiance, a new message arrived. It was from the Vicorian High Archon Vekthul himself. The message played on every screen in the Sol system. People of Earth, the High Archon said, your system has resources we need. Your stations are in locations we want. You will give us access to everything. You have 48 hours to agree. If you refuse, we will take what we want by force. Your choice is simple, surrender or die, the message ended. The crew of the Defiance looked at each other. Fear and anger mixed together. The Vicorians were not asking. They were demanding. They thought Earth was weak. They thought humans would just give up. Admiral Choi Tae-young sat in his office on Earth. He was the head of Earth's defense force. He had been a diplomat before. He had spent his life working for peace. Now he had to prepare for war. Tae-young called his commanders together. Military leaders from every nation came. They had never met like this before. Earth had never needed a war council. We cannot surrender, Tae-young said. If we give them what they want, they will never leave. They will take everything. They will make us slaves. But we cannot win, another commander said. Look at their ships. Look at their weapons. We have nothing like that. We are miners and traders, not warriors. Tae-young stood up. He looked at each person in the room. Then we will become warriors, he said. We will learn. We will adapt. We will fight. Because the alternative is to lose everything we have built. Everything we are. On the Defiance, Daiwan received new orders. Earth was mobilizing. Every ship was being called in. Mining lasers were being turned into weapons. Civilian vessels were being armed. Scientists were working day and night to create defenses. Dr. Bora came to the bridge. She carried a data pad. Captain, I have an idea, she said. Our fusion drives are powerful. Very powerful. If we overload them, they could be used as weapons. Like bombs. Daewon looked at her. He understood what she meant. A ship could become a weapon. But the crew would die. Will it work? He asked. Yes, Bora said quietly. But only at close range. Heejin had been listening. She stepped forward. Then we make them come close, she said. We make them think we are weak. We make them think they have already won. Then we strike. Daewon looked at his crew. They were scared. They had every right to be scared, but they were also determined. They were ready to defend their home. The 48 hours passed slowly. Earth prepared. Families said goodbye to their loved ones. Soldiers boarded ships. Engineers checked weapons. Everyone knew what was coming. When the deadline ended, Earth sent its answer to the Vicorians. It was simple and clear. No, the Vicorian fleet began to advance. War was coming. Earth had remained neutral for 50 years. They had avoided conflict. They had chosen peace. But the Vicorians had brought war to their doors. Now Earth would show them what humans could do when they had no choice but to fight. Captain Daewon stood on the bridge of the Defiance. Behind him, Earth's small fleet gathered. Ahead of him, the enemy approached. He took a deep breath. History was about to change. For better or worse, humanity was going to war. The Vicorian fleet moved forward like a wall of death. 20 massive warships filled the space between Mars and Earth. Their weapons were ready. Their shields were up. War Master Kelvash stood on the bridge of his command ship. He looked at the display showing Earth's defensive fleet. What he saw made him almost laugh. A few patrol ships, some converted mining vessels, cargo haulers with weapons attached to their sides. This was not a military fleet. This was a collection of desperate civilians playing soldier. This will be over quickly, one of his officers said. They have no chance, Kelvash nodded. He felt almost sorry for the humans. They should have surrendered. Now they would die for nothing. Begin standard approach, Kelvash ordered. Show them our power. They may still surrender when they see what we can do. On the Defiance, Captain Daewon watched the enemy ships advance. His hands gripped the armrest of his chair. Every instinct told him to run. But there was nowhere to run. Behind him was Earth, his home. Everyone he loved. Commander Heijin stood beside him. She had spent 3 days planning this battle. She knew Earth could not win in a normal fight, so she had planned an abnormal fight. All ships, this is Commander Heijin, she said into the communication system. Remember the plan. Look weak, act scared. Make them come close. Wait for my signal. The human fleet spread out. They moved slowly, uncertainly. Some ships seemed to drift. They looked exactly like what they were. Untrained civilians in ships that were never meant for war. The Vicorians took the bait. They moved closer, confident and careless. Fire, Kelvash ordered. Energy beams shot through space. They hit the human ships. But the weapons were not at full power. The Vicorians were showing off, trying to scare the humans into giving up. 3 human ships exploded. Real people died. Real families lost their loved ones. Day One closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened them again. There would be time to mourn later. If they survived, the remaining human ships retreated. They moved back toward Earth as if they were running away. The Vicorian fleet followed, eager to finish the fight. "Now they are close enough," Hyejin said quietly. "Signal the Aurora." The Aurora was a mining hauler. It was old and slow. It appeared damaged, drifting toward the Vicorian line. The Vicorians ignored it. They thought it was just debris, another broken human ship. The Aurora drifted right into the middle of the Vicorian formation. It passed through their shields. That was the key to Hyejin's plan. Vicorian shields kept weapons out, but they let slow-moving objects through so the ships could dock and resupply. Dr. Bora pressed a button on her console. On the Aurora, the fusion reactor began to overload. The crew had already evacuated in escape pods. The ship was empty except for one person, Captain Im Woo-jin. He had volunteered to stay behind and make sure the reactor detonated at the right moment. Woo-jin looked at his screen. He could see the Vicorian ships all around him. He thought of his daughter back on Earth. He hoped she would understand why he did this. "For Earth," he said quietly. He pressed the final button. The explosion was massive. It lit up space like a new sun. The Aurora turned into pure energy. 2 Vicorian cruisers were destroyed instantly. A third was badly damaged. The blast threw other ships out of position. On his command ship, Kelvash staggered as the vessel shook. Alarms blared. His officers shouted reports. He stared at his display in shock. The humans had just sacrificed one of their own ships, sacrificed their own crew. No civilized species did that. It was barbaric. "It was insane. It was effective. All ships attack now," Day One ordered. The human fleet turned around. They were no longer running. They charged forward with everything they had. Mining lasers cut into Vicorian hulls. Improvised missiles struck damaged ships. Human fighters, led by Lieutenant Han Gi-tae, swarmed around the larger vessels like angry insects. Gi-tae was 23 years old. He had learned to fly in Earth's atmosphere, doing aerobatics for fun. Now he flew a combat fighter in space. His squadron followed him as he dove between the Vicorian ships, targeting their weapon systems. "Stay close to the big ships," Gi-tae said to his pilots. "They cannot shoot us without hitting each other." It worked. The Vicorians had never fought an enemy that used such crazy tactics. Their weapons were designed for long-range battles between organized fleets. They did not know how to fight against desperate humans who attacked at point-blank range. But the Vicorians were still powerful. They began to adapt. They focused their fire. More human ships exploded. Gi-tae watched as fighters from his squadron were destroyed. People he knew. People he had trained with. "Gone in flashes of light. Keep fighting," he shouted. For everyone back home, the battle became chaos. Ships rammed into each other. Explosions filled space. Human vessels used their fusion drives as weapons, just like the Aurora. When a human ship was too damaged to fight, its crew would aim it at an enemy ship and overload the reactor. Every ship became a potential bomb. Kelvash realized he had made a terrible mistake. These humans were not civilized traders. They were warriors. Desperate, creative, terrifying warriors. They fought without fear because they had no choice. This was their home. They would rather die than surrender it. "Pull back," Kelvash ordered. "Retreat to safe distance," his officers stared at him. "But War Master, we have superior numbers." "I said retreat," Kelvash shouted. "Now!" The Vicorian fleet pulled back. They moved out of human weapons range. The battle stopped. Space became quiet again except for the debris floating everywhere. On the Defiance, the crew cheered. They had won. The enemy had retreated. Earth was safe, but Day One did not cheer. He looked at the casualty reports. Half of Earth's fleet was gone. Thousands of people were dead. The victory had cost them everything they had. Hyejin put her hand on his shoulder. She looked tired, sad, but also proud. "We did it, Captain," she said. "We actually did it," Day One nodded slowly. They had won the battle, but he knew the war was not over. On Earth, people gathered in the streets. They had watched the battle on screens. They had seen their loved ones die. They had seen their planet defended. The celebration was mixed with tears. Every family had lost someone. Admiral Tae-young stood at a memorial service in New Seoul. Thousands of names were being read aloud. Each name was someone who had died protecting Earth. Captain Im Woo-jin, Lieutenant Park Min-ji, Engineer Cho Sung-ho. The list went on and on. Ambassador Yong-soo received messages from other alien species. Some congratulated Earth, some offered sympathy, some offered secret help. The galaxy had noticed. Earth had fought the Vicorian Empire and survived. That changed everything. In his command ship, War Master Kel Vash reviewed the battle recordings. He watched the humans sacrifice themselves again and again. He had fought for 20 years across the galaxy. He had conquered dozens of species, but he had never seen anything like this. He sent a secure report to High Archon Vekthul. The report was clear: Earth was dangerous. The humans had unknown capabilities. They fought without following any known military doctrine. They were willing to die to protect their home. The Empire should approach carefully, but Vekthul ignored the report. He was angry, humiliated. A small fleet of primitive humans had forced his ships to retreat. This could not stand. He would gather a larger fleet. A much larger fleet. He would bring such overwhelming power that the humans would have no choice but to surrender. On the Defiance, Dr. Bo-ra worked late into the night. She was analyzing the battle data. The weapons she had created had worked, but she felt sick thinking about the people who had died using them. She had turned peaceful technology into instruments of death. Dae-won found her in the laboratory. "She was crying, Doctor," he said gently. "Are you okay?" Bo-ra wiped her eyes. "I killed them, Captain. All those people. My weapons killed them." Dae-won shook his head. "No, you saved them. Without your weapons, we would have all died. Earth would have fallen. You gave us a chance." Bo-ra looked at him. "Will it be enough? When they come back?" Dae-won did not answer. He did not know. Long-range sensors were already detecting movement at the edge of the system. The Vicorians were gathering ships. Many ships. The next battle would be much bigger, but Earth would be ready. They had 3 months, maybe 4, before the next attack. In that time, Earth would build more ships. Better weapons. They would train more pilots. They would prepare, and they had something else now. Something they did not have before. They had proven to themselves that they could fight. That they could win. Earth had drawn first blood. The Vicorians had learned that bringing war to humanity's doors came with a price. The question was, would that price be enough to make them stop? Or would it only make them more determined to destroy Earth completely? Time would tell. But one thing was certain: humanity would not go quietly into the dark. They would fight, and they would make the enemy remember Earth's name. 3 months had passed since the first battle. Earth looked different now. The peaceful trading posts had become military bases. Factories that once made cars and computers now made weapons and ships. The sky above Earth was filled with construction platforms building warships. Admiral Choi Tae-young walked through the new orbital shipyard above Tokyo. He watched workers building the newest destroyer. It was twice the size of the Defiance. It had real weapons, not improvised ones. It had shields based on alien technology. Earth was learning fast. Dr. Lee Bo-ra stood beside him. She looked tired. She had not slept properly in weeks, but her eyes were bright with excitement. "Admiral, look at this," she said, pointing to a display. "We have created something new. A railgun that can punch through Vicorian shields. We call it the Hammer." Tae-young studied the design. It was impressive. Earth had taken technology from peaceful uses and turned it into military power. Mining equipment became weapons. Communication satellites became spy networks. Civilian ships became warships. "How many can we build?" Tae-young asked. 50, maybe 60 before they return," Bo-ra said. "But Admiral, there is something else. Something secret." She led him to a private room. Inside, screens showed a massive structure being built near the sun. It looked like a ring of satellites. "What is it?" Tae-young asked. "We call it the Helios Array," Bo-ra explained. "It captures solar energy and focuses it into beams. Powerful beams. Strong enough to destroy a capital ship in one shot." Tae-young felt hope for the first time in months. Earth had a chance. A real chance, but Earth was not just building weapons. Ambassador Na Yong-soo was building something else. Alliances. She met in secret with representatives from 6 different alien species. They gathered on a neutral station, far from prying eyes. These species had all suffered under Vicorian aggression. They all wanted the Empire to be stopped, but they were afraid to act openly. Earth stood alone and fought, a Tellurian delegate said. You showed courage we do not have. Then stand with us, Yongsu said. You do not need to fight. Just share your technology. Give us your knowledge. Help us level the playing field. The aliens looked at each other. They were afraid, but they were also inspired. Earth had done the impossible. Maybe together they could do more. One by one, they agreed. They would help Earth in secret. They would provide technology, intelligence, and resources. The Vicorians would not know about this alliance until it was too late. Back on the Defiance, Commander Park Hae-jin was training new officers. She had established Earth's first military academy. Young people from every nation came to learn how to fight in space. She taught them the lessons learned in the first battle. Do not fight fair. Use surprise. Be unpredictable. Make the enemy scared. The Vicorians are stronger than us, she told the students. Their ships are bigger. Their weapons are more powerful. But they are predictable. They follow rules. We do not have to follow their rules. That is our advantage. Lieutenant Han-gite stood at the back of the room. He was a hero now. People recognized him on the streets. Children wanted to be like him. But he did not feel like a hero. He remembered his friends who died. He carried their memory with him every day. After the class, Hae-jin approached him. I need you to lead the new fighter wing, she said. We have better ships now, faster, stronger, but we need experienced pilots to lead them. Gitai nodded. He would do his duty. He would fight again. He would honor those who fell by making sure their sacrifice meant something. Long-range sensors finally detected what Earth feared. A massive fleet was gathering at the edge of the system. 50 Vicorian warships, maybe more. They were preparing for a full invasion. Captain Daewon studied the sensor readings on the Defiance. The numbers were overwhelming. Even with Earth's improvements, this would be a hard fight. Maybe impossible. Admiral Tae-young called an emergency meeting. All of Earth's commanders gathered via hologram. The faces around the virtual table looked worried. The Vicorian fleet will arrive in 2 weeks, Tae-young said. They will come in full strength. This time they will not underestimate us. How many ships do we have? A commander asked. 20 modern warships. Another 30 converted civilian vessels, Tae-young replied, plus support from 12 allied species. They are sending ships too. Secretly, hope flickered in the room. Earth was not alone anymore. Commander Hae-jin activated a tactical display. It showed the Sol system with planned defensive positions. We will fight near Mars, she explained. We can use the planet's gravity to help us maneuver. The Helios array will give us fire support from near the sun. Our allied ships will be hidden in the asteroid belt, ready to strike from the side. It was a good plan. But everyone knew that even the best plan could fall apart in battle. The Vicorian fleet arrived exactly on schedule. War Master Kelvash commanded again, but this time he was not in charge. High Archon Vekthul himself had come. He wanted to personally oversee the destruction of Earth. The Archon's command ship was enormous. It was bigger than any human city. It carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets. Behind it, the fleet spread out in perfect formation. Vekthul broadcast a message to Earth. Humans, you fought bravely. But bravery is not enough. Surrender now and I will be merciful. Resist and I will erase your species from history. Captain Daewon looked at his crew. They had heard the threat. They knew what was coming, but not one of them looked afraid. They looked determined. He opened a channel back to the Vicorians. You brought war to our doors, Daewon said calmly. You violated our peace. You killed our people. Now you will learn what humans do when you threaten our home. Come and try. The channel closed. The Vicorian fleet began to advance. The Battle of Mars began at dawn on Earth. People across the planet watched on screens. Families held hands. Children prayed. Everyone knew this was the moment that would decide everything. The fleets met near Mars' orbit. The Vicorians opened fire first. Energy beams filled space. But this time, Earth's shields held. The new technology from their allies worked. Human ships returned fire with railguns and missiles. Lieutenant Gitai led 3 fighter wings into the chaos. His pilots were better trained now. They flew in formation, supporting each other. They targeted Vicorian weak points that Dr. Bora had identified. The battle was fierce. Ships on both sides exploded, space filled with debris and fire, but this time Earth was holding its own. The Vicorians were shocked. How had these primitive humans improved so quickly? Then Hyajin's trap sprang. Allied ships emerged from the asteroid belt. 12 species who had secretly armed themselves attacked the Vicorian flank. The enemy formation broke apart. High Archon Vekthul roared in anger. He had been ambushed, deceived. These humans were more cunning than he thought. Destroy them all, he ordered. No mercy. The Vicorian fleet refocused. They began pushing forward with overwhelming force. Human and allied ships fell back. The defense was crumbling. Dr. Bora watched from Earth. The battle was not going well. They needed the Helios array, but it was not ready. She had planned to use it later. Now they had no choice. Activate Helios, Admiral Tae-young ordered. Now. Bora pressed the activation sequence. Near the sun, satellites came online. They began collecting solar energy, focusing it, channeling it into concentrated beams. The first beam struck a Vicorian cruiser. The ship simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next it was vapor. The second beam hit another ship. Same result. The Vicorians panicked. Where were these weapons coming from? They could not see the Helios array. It was too far away, too close to the sun. Captain Daewon seized the moment. He ordered the human fleet to press forward. The Vicorians were confused and scared. The battle turned into a rout. High Archon Vekthul watched his fleet being destroyed. He could not believe it. He had brought overwhelming force. He had the best weapons, the most powerful ships. How were these humans winning? War Master Kelvash approached him. Archon, we must retreat, Kelvash said. We are losing. Vekthul wanted to refuse. But he was not stupid. He was arrogant, not suicidal. Fall back, he ordered bitterly. But this is not over. The Vicorian fleet retreated. They left behind destroyed ships and dead soldiers. Earth had won again. Not just survived, won on Earth, people celebrated in the streets. They had defended their home twice now. The impossible had become reality. But Captain Daewon knew the truth. The battle was a draw, not a victory. Both sides had lost many ships, many lives. The Vicorians would return. They would keep returning until one side could not fight anymore, unless something changed. Unless Earth could end this war, not just survive another battle. Ambassador Yong-Su received a message that night. It came from an unexpected source, War Master Kelvash himself. The message was simple. You have earned my respect, but High Archon Vekthul will never stop. He will bring the entire Vicorian home fleet, hundreds of ships, unless you can stop him first. The message included coordinates and tactical data. Kelvash was giving Earth intelligence about the enemy. He was betraying his own people. Why? The answer came in the last line of the message. Because warriors should respect warriors, and I respect what you have become. May the best side win. 6 weeks. That was all the time Earth had before the Vicorian home fleet arrived. The intelligence from War Master Kelvash was clear. High Archon Vekthul was gathering every ship he could find. 300 capital ships, maybe more. Enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. The Sol system had become a fortress. Every orbital station was armed. Mining stations in the asteroid belt had been turned into weapons platforms. The Helios array had been expanded. Earth's allies had sent more ships and better technology, but everyone knew it might not be enough. Captain Daewon stood on the bridge of the Defiance. The ship had been upgraded with the best weapons and shields Earth could build. It was now the flagship of the human fleet. Behind it, 200 ships from 13 different species waited. Admiral Tae-young appeared on the main screen. He looked old and tired. The war had aged him years in just months. Captain, the enemy fleet has entered the system, Tae-young said. They will reach Earth in 12 hours. Daewon felt his heart beat faster. This was it. The final battle. Win or lose. Live or die. All ships ready, Admiral, Daewon reported. We will make them pay for every meter of space. Tae-young nodded. Whatever happens today, know that Earth is proud of you. All of you. You have shown the galaxy what humanity can do. The screen went dark. Daewon looked at his crew. Commander Hee-jin at the tactical station. Dr. Bora monitoring the weapons. Lieutenant Gi-tae ready to launch with his fighters. These people had become his family. For Earth, Daewon said simply. For Earth, the crew repeated. The Vicorian home fleet emerged from hyperspace like a dark cloud. Ship after ship appeared. The sensors could barely count them all. At the center was High Archon Vekthul's command dreadnought. It was the size of a small moon, covered in weapons. Vekthul broadcast his message across all channels. His voice was cold and final. This is your last chance, humans. Surrender Earth now. Disband your alliance. Accept Vicorian rule. Or I will destroy every ship, every station, every city. I will erase you from existence. Ambassador Na Yongsu had been given permission to respond. She stood in the United Earth headquarters, broadcast to the entire galaxy. High Archon, you came to our doors with violence. You brought war when we wanted peace. You thought we were weak because we chose not to fight. You were wrong. We are not weak. We are not afraid. And we will never surrender. She paused, then added simply, come and try. The Vicorian fleet began its advance. 300 ships moving in perfect formation. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Commander He Jin activated the battle network. Every human and allied ship was now connected. They could share sensor data instantly, coordinate attacks perfectly. It was like having one giant mind controlling 200 ships. All ships, she transmitted, execute Omega Protocol. The Allied fleet scattered. They did not form defensive lines. They did not wait for the enemy. They attacked from all directions at once. Small groups of ships diving in, firing, and pulling back before the Vicorians could respond. Lieutenant Gite led his fighter wings into the chaos. He had 300 fighters now, from a dozen different species. They swarmed through the Vicorian formation like angry bees. Target their command ships, Gite ordered. Make them scared. Make them confused. The battle spread across the entire Sol system. Ships fought near Mars, in the asteroid belt, around Jupiter. It was the largest space battle in galactic history. But the Vicorians had numbers. So many numbers. For every ship the Allies destroyed, 2 more took its place. Slowly, steadily, the defensive lines were being pushed back toward Earth. Dr. Bora watched the battle from the command center on Earth. The numbers were bad. Even with the Helios array firing at maximum power, it was not enough. The Vicorians kept coming. She looked at her most secret project. Project Prometheus, a quantum disruptor weapon that could shut down entire fleets. But it was dangerous. Incredibly dangerous. It used so much power that it could destabilize the sun. If it went wrong, Earth would be destroyed. Admiral Tae Young appeared beside her. Will it work? He asked quietly. Bora did not lie. Maybe. The simulations show a 60% chance of success, 40% chance of destroying our own sun. Tae Young looked at the tactical display. Luna Base had just fallen. Earth's orbital defenses were being destroyed one by one. The Vicorian dreadnought was advancing on Earth itself. 40% is better than 0, he said. Activate Prometheus. Deborah's hands shook as she entered the activation codes. If this went wrong, she would kill everyone. Not just the soldiers fighting. Everyone on Earth, billions of people. But if she did nothing, they would all die anyway. Targeting the Archon's dreadnought, she announced. Firing in 10 seconds. Captain Daewon heard the transmission. He knew what it meant. Prometheus was the last weapon. The final hope. All ships, full retreat, he ordered. Get clear of the Vicorian fleet. Now the quantum disruptor fired. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the sun flickered, just for a second. Space itself seemed to ripple. On the Archon's dreadnought, every system crashed at once. Lights went out. Weapons powered down. Shields collapsed. The massive ship became nothing but a dead hull floating in space. The effect cascaded through the Vicorian fleet. Their ships were all networked together for coordination. The quantum pulse spread through the network like a virus. One by one, Vicorian ships went dark. High Archon Vekthul sat in darkness. His command chair was dead. His screens were blank. He could hear his officers shouting in confusion. The humans had done the impossible again. They had turned his own strength against him. Captain Daewon could not believe what he was seeing. Half the Vicorian fleet was disabled, just floating there helpless. All ships attack, he ordered. Finish this! The Allied fleet turned. They had been retreating. Now they attacked. The working Vicorian ships tried to defend, but they were confused and leaderless. The battle turned into a slaughter. War Master Kelvash watched from his ship. He had held back during the initial attack, positioned on the fleet's edge. That decision saved his vessel from the quantum pulse. Now he faced a choice. He could continue fighting, or he could end this. He opened a channel to Captain Daewon. Captain Daewon, this is War Master Kelvash. I request a ceasefire. The High Archon is disabled. I am assuming command of the Vicorian fleet. We surrender. Day One was shocked. The enemy was surrendering. Actually surrendering. Why? Day One asked. You still have working ships. You could keep fighting. Kelvash was quiet for a moment. Because you have earned the right to win. You fought with honor, with courage, with intelligence. The Vicorian Empire made a mistake. We brought war to the wrong species. Day One looked at Commander Heejin. She nodded. The war could end here. Now. No more death. Ceasefire accepted, Day One said. Power down your weapons. We will discuss terms. The battle stopped. Space became quiet except for the debris. Ships on both sides powered down weapons. Soldiers on both sides stopped shooting. The war was over. On Earth, people watched in disbelief. They had won. Actually won. Not just survived. Won. The celebration started slowly, then exploded. Every city, every nation, everyone celebrating together. But Dr. Bora did not celebrate. She looked at her screen showing the sun. It was still there. Still stable. But it had come so close to disaster. She had gambled with billions of lives and won. The weight of that decision would stay with her forever. Admiral Tae-young made the announcement to Earth. The war was over. The Vicorians had surrendered. Earth was safe, but he also read the casualty list. So many names. So many lives lost. Luna was destroyed. Orbital stations were gone. The victory had cost everything. Lieutenant Gite landed his fighter. Half his squadron had not made it back. He sat in the cockpit for a long time, thinking about his friends, remembering their faces, wishing he could tell them they had won. Ambassador Yongsu received formal messages from dozens of species. The Galactic Council wanted to meet with Earth. Other civilizations wanted to join the alliance. The galaxy had changed. Earth had changed it. A week later, Captain Daewon met with War Master Kelvash on a neutral station. They sat across from each other, two warriors who had tried to kill each other now talking peace. The Vicorian Empire will pay reparations, Kelvash said. We will rebuild what we destroyed. We will honor the dead. But I must warn you, Captain, there are factions in the Empire who will not accept this defeat. This war may be over, but there will be those who want it to continue. Daewon nodded. Then we will be ready. Earth did not want war, but we learned how to fight. And we will never forget what we learned. Kelvash studied the human captain. You have changed, Captain. You are not the peaceful traitor I first encountered. You have become something new. Yes, Daewon said quietly. We have. The enemy brought war to our doors. They forced us to become warriors. Now we must decide what kind of warriors we will be. 1 year had passed since the war ended. Earth looked different. The scars of battle were still visible. Luna was being rebuilt. Orbital stations slowly returned. Memorial parks covered the planet, honoring those who had fallen. But Earth was not the same world that had chosen neutrality 50 years ago. The peaceful traders had become galactic protectors. The Sol system was now one of the major military powers in the galaxy. Admiral Kang Dae-won walked through the new Earth Defense Academy. He was no longer just a ship captain. He had been promoted to admiral and now trained the next generation of officers. Young people from Earth and dozens of allied species studied together. He stopped at a memorial wall. Thousands of names were carved into the black stone, every person who had died defending Earth. He found the name he was looking for, Captain Im Woo-jin, the man who had sacrificed himself in the first battle. We won, old friend, Daewon said quietly, but the price was high. Commander Park Hae-jin found him there. She was now head of Allied military operations. Her tactical brilliance had made her famous across the galaxy. Other species studied her battle plans. Admiral, we have a situation, she said. The Galactic Council has formally offered Earth a permanent seat, full membership, full voting rights. Daewon turned to look at her. And they are also asking for help, Heejin said. A new threat has emerged. An alien collective from beyond known space. They are attacking Council worlds. The Council wants Earth to lead the military response. Daewon felt conflicted. Earth had fought to defend itself. Now they were being asked to defend others. Was this their responsibility? Dr. Lee Bora had also changed in the past year. She had shifted her focus from weapons to peaceful technology, but she maintained Earth's defensive capabilities. She would never let Earth be vulnerable again. She was working in her laboratory when Ambassador Na Young-soo visited her. "Doctor, I need your opinion," Young-soo said. "Should Earth help the Council? Should we send our ships to fight someone else's war?" Bora thought carefully before answering. "A year ago, I would have said no. We should stay home, stay safe. But I learned something during the war. Neutrality does not protect you. Peace does not protect you. Only strength protects you. And strength means standing with others against aggression." Young-soo had been working on building the Terran Alliance. 15 species now formally belonged. They had mutual defense agreements. They shared technology. They trained together. The Alliance was becoming a real power in the galaxy, but there was also unexpected news. War Master Kelvash had contacted Earth with a proposal. He now led a reform movement within the Vicorian Empire. He wanted peace. He wanted change. And he was asking for Earth's help. A summit was arranged on a neutral station. Admiral Choi Tae-young led the Earth delegation. Admiral Dae-won provided security. They were still cautious about trusting Vicorians. Kelvash arrived with a small escort. He looked older, tired. The war had changed him too. "Admiral Tae-young, thank you for meeting with me," Kelvash said. "I know trust is difficult after everything that happened. It is," Tae-young agreed. "But we are listening." Kelvash explained the situation. High Archon Vekthal had been removed from power after the defeat. But many Vicorians wanted revenge. They wanted to continue the war. Kelvash led those who wanted reform, who wanted peace, but they needed help. "What kind of help?" Tae-young asked. "Support, recognition, show the galaxy that humans can forgive, that we can work together. If Earth stands with the reform movement, others will follow." Ambassador Young-soo was also at the summit. She saw the political value. If Earth could turn the Vicorian Empire from enemy to ally, it would change the balance of power completely. But many on Earth opposed it. How could they forgive the Vicorians after everything they had done? Commander Han Gi-tae was one of those who opposed it. He had lost too many friends. He had seen too much death. Forgiveness felt like betrayal. Admiral Dae-won understood his feelings. He felt the same way, but he also understood something else. "Commander, I know how you feel," Dae-won said to Gi-tae, "but we have to think about the future. If we keep the Vicorians as enemies, the war never truly ends. If we turn them into allies, we honor those who died by building something better." After days of negotiation, a treaty was signed. The Vicorian Empire would formally recognize Earth's sovereignty. They would pay reparations. They would support the Terran Alliance. In exchange, Earth would support the reform movement and help rebuild Vicorian civilian infrastructure. It was not perfect. Many people on both sides were unhappy. But it was a start. Then came the new threat. Long-range sensors detected a massive fleet entering the galaxy from unknown space. They were attacking indiscriminately, destroying colonies, taking resources. They made the Vicorians look peaceful by comparison. The Galactic Council held an emergency session. Representatives from 100 species gathered. They were scared. This new enemy was powerful and ruthless. The Council asked Earth to lead the military response. They trusted human tactical brilliance. They trusted human determination. Earth had proven itself. Admiral Tae-young called an emergency meeting of Earth's leadership. The question was simple. Should Earth fight someone else's war? Should they risk their people for species that had not helped them when they needed it? The debate was fierce. Some argued Earth should stay home, focus on rebuilding, let others deal with their own problems. But Ambassador Young-soo stood up and made a speech that changed minds. "A year ago, we were alone," she said. "The Council did not help us. Our allies helped us secretly, afraid to act openly. We learned that neutrality does not keep you safe. We learned that peace is not free. We paid for our survival with the blood of our people. Now we have a choice. We can be like the Council was to us, afraid and passive, or we can be what we needed when we were desperate. We can be protectors. We can be heroes. Not because we want war, but because we know the cost of letting aggression go unchallenged." The room was silent. Then Admiral Dae-won spoke. "The ambassador is right. We did not choose to become warriors, but we are warriors now, and warriors have a duty. Not just to defend themselves, but to defend those who cannot defend themselves." The vote was unanimous. Earth would respond. The Terran Alliance would mobilize. They would face this new threat together. As the fleets prepared to depart, Admiral Dae-won stood on the bridge of a new flagship. It was called the Defiance II. named after his original ship, the ship that had started everything. Commander Hyejin was with him. Dr. Bo-Ra had provided new weapons. Commander Gite led an entire fighter wing. They were ready. Behind them, ships from 20 species waited. Humans, Tellurians, even Vicorians under Kelvash's command. Former enemies now fighting together. It is strange, Hyejin said. A year ago, we just wanted to survive. Now we are leading a galactic fleet. Daewon nodded. The Vicorians brought war to our doors. They forced us to become something we never wanted to be. But maybe that is okay. Maybe the galaxy needed us to be this. The fleet jumped into hyperspace, heading toward the unknown threat. Earth was no longer neutral. Earth was no longer passive. Earth had become exactly what the galaxy needed. Defenders, protectors, warriors who fought not for conquest but for justice. 10 years later, historians would write about this moment. They would call it the beginning of the Terran Age, the time when humanity emerged from isolation and became a force for good in the galaxy. But for Captain Kang Daewon, now retired and teaching at the academy, it was simpler than that. He told his students the truth: we did not want war. We wanted peace. We chose neutrality. But when the enemy brought war to our doors, we learned who we really were. We learned that humans will fight for what is right. We will sacrifice for what we love. We will stand against evil even when the odds are impossible. He paused, looking at the young faces watching him. That is humanity's strength, not our weapons, not our ships, but our refusal to surrender, our determination to protect others, our willingness to become whatever we need to be to defend what is right. The students were silent, absorbing his words. Remember this, Daewon continued. You are not soldiers because you love war. You are soldiers because you love peace. You do not fight because you hate what is in front of you. You fight because you love what is behind you. Earth, family, freedom. That is what makes you strong. After class, Daewon walked to his favorite spot overlooking the academy grounds. He could see young people from a dozen species training together, learning together, building friendships that would last a lifetime. Ambassador Yong-Su joined him. She was older now, her hair gray, but her spirit was still strong. Do you ever regret it? She asked. Becoming warriors instead of staying neutral? Daewon thought about it for a long time. He thought about all the people who had died, all the sacrifices made, all the pain and suffering. Then he thought about what they had built. An alliance of species working together, peace enforced not by fear but by justice, a galaxy where aggressive empires thought twice before attacking the innocent. No, he said finally, I do not regret it. We did not choose this path. It was forced upon us, but we walked it with honor. We became what the galaxy needed, not conquerors, not tyrants, but defenders. And I am proud of that, Yong-Su smiled. So am I. They stood together watching the sunset over Earth, the planet that had remained neutral for so long.